Welcome back to another Senior Learning Institute's educational moment, where older adults and their loved ones turn for honest and straightforward information. In just a few minutes, you'll enjoy bite-sized, easily digestible nuggets of knowledge, empowering you to make the right decision the first time. So without further ado, here's our founder, certified senior advisor, seniors real estate specialist, nationally syndicated podcaster and speaker, the advocate you can trust, Mr. Ted Gottlieb.
A wise person once said, "There is nothing like looking if you want to find something." That rings especially true when it comes to senior living communities. This Senior Learning Institute educational moment will give you a brief overview of the different types of senior living communities, how to best decide which fits best, and how to tour communities during regular times and during the COVID-19 pandemic. Nancy McClure is the owner of the Greater St. Louis Care Patrol franchise. Her purpose is to help older adults and their support systems find the community that best suits their needs, both short-term and long-term. Nancy, please elaborate on that and help us understand the difference between a referral source organization and a placement company.
So at a time of extreme need, or actually at times when you aren't looking, the big difference between a referral source and a placement service is simple. A referral source is online. They don't come to you. They provide a lot of really good information. And for some people, that's perfect because they don't want that face-to-face. They don't want that personalized service. But a placement service, which there's 5 companies in the St. Louis area that do this, they will help you find the place. They will go with you on the tours. They will try and make the search very simple for you and narrow it down to a few communities that would fit all the needs you're asking for.
That's great. Now, is this a free service?
Yes, it's a free service. We get paid by communities a finder's fee, except for in the case of if the government is paying for it through Medicaid or Medicare, we can't get paid for those. But otherwise, we get paid.
Gotcha.
From the communities.
Nice. So there are different care options available at senior living communities. Can you take a minute or two to describe them and how we decide which is the best fit for us?
So the main 3 are independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. Independent living is just like it sounds. You have to be pretty independent to live there. Some of them have on-site help for things like putting on compression hose or showering assistance. But for the most part, you have to be very independent to live there. And why you would move into one of those is if the house becomes a burden, are your kids coming over and spending more time working on the house than they are spending time with you? Maybe you ought to consider independent living. Now, assisted living, they add on care. They help you shower. They help you get dressed. They can help you get to and from lunch, dinner. They make all your meals for you. There's a lot of additional care that is added in. But at some point, you might need an extreme amount of care, in which case then you would go to skilled nursing. If you need feeding tubes or have a tracheotomy, if you need help getting in and out of bed because you can't even support yourself anymore and it takes 2 people or a Hoyer lift, then you need to go to skilled nursing.
Right. Now, when it comes to assisted living, though, there's different levels of assisted living. There's level 1 and level 2, right?
In the state of Missouri, there are 2 different levels of assisted living. Some states actually have also what's called residential care. So the different levels are determined by how much care you need. An assisted living level 1 in Missouri and many states, you have to still be able to make your pathway to safety without any help from anybody else. So assisted living level 2, they can actually help you by either touch or direction, or actually, if they're equipped staff-wise, they can help you get out of bed into a wheelchair and push you to the exit.
Right. Well, and that's important information because I've heard of situations where people have made the move to assisted living level 1 and then had to move to a different community because level 2 wasn't available. And we kind of knew from the start that things may not get better, they may get a little bit worse. So having that information up front really would have saved not only the cost and the time, but the emotion that comes with not only moving once from the house, but having to move again.
Yes, that is very stressful. So you have to look at what is the disease, what is your possible progression. If it looks like you're going to stay steady, then assisted living level 1 is a very good option because they're usually less expensive. But if you have a progressive disease that might progress quickly, then move to the assisted living level 2, and then go to a place that maybe has levels of care. So you start out at the low end of the price aid and go more money as you need more care.
Right. Now, as you probably know, when I go and meet with folks for the first time, and oftentimes I'm brought in as the real estate agent, what are we going to do to sell the house? But most folks are coming in and saying, I don't want to leave right now. And I understand that completely. And I do whatever I can to assist them to age in place. But it often gets to a point where it no longer makes sense from a safety perspective or from a dollar and cents perspective when we're bringing care into the house, for instance, that the math doesn't work any longer. And it makes sense to go to a community living because we're isolated and we're just alone and all those things. So, I often will explain the services that you provide, and by saying, look, Nancy and can explain the good and the bad and the ugly of every community that's out there. She's there all the time. She understands. She knows the questions that need to be asked and the services that you may need. And we're trying to help you get through the process and only make the move once. And it's a free service. It's really a no-brainer. So that's really the angle, if you want to call it that, that I approach it. And it makes sense, in my opinion, to go with somebody who's local, who understands each community. I mean, no one's going to understand it better than you are. And it's, knowing what the dynamics are within that community. Are people moving in? Are people moving out? I mean, there's just so many things that you need to think about. You need to get this right for the first time. So that's why I think using a service like yours makes all the sense in the world. We're speaking with Senior Living Placement Specialist Nancy McClure. Nancy, I've got one last question for you, and it relates to how you and senior living communities are conducting tours during this pandemic, and how does that really compare to in a typical environment? How does that really compare? How's this so much different, and what are you able to do in order to get people to get a feel for where they're actually going to be moving?
So what we've gone to is we're not allowed to go into the communities to tour because obviously they're kind of locked down. So we are working with communities to have virtual tours available. We'll set up Zoom so that they can talk to the representative and to talk about the what the place has to offer. I'm also working with all of the other placement services in St. Louis. We're figuring out who can accept placement right now and who cannot, because some people cannot right now. Their advisors have told them not to bring anybody new in until the pandemic is over, but others are accepting new clients, and some are only doing it in the case of if there's an emergency that they have to move to be safe. So that's what we are all working as a team, all of the placement services in St. Louis, to try and make sure that all of our seniors have that option, can find what is necessary, and can move in if it's an emergency at this time.
Right. Even more important in my mind to utilize a placement company like yours. Whether oftentimes you have kids that aren't even in town, and you need to make decisions, and you need to be their eyes and ears. So the invaluable service. I highly recommend that folks utilize placement services. And Nancy, you're part of a franchise that goes nationwide, so you can also refer out of state, which is awesome. So there's a lot of value that you offer, as well as some of the other franchises, and then obviously the local folks who are independent businesses also add value as well. So thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate that, Nancy. What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
By phone at 314-402-6955 or email N as in Nancy, MCCLURE at carepatrol.com.
Great. And you also have a website too, greaterstlouis.carepatrol.com, greaterstlouis.carepatrol.com. And that phone number again is 314-402-6955.
Yes.
I want to thank you for listening to this Senior Learning Institute educational moment. At the Senior Learning Institute, we strive to provide straightforward and unbiased information you need to make smart decisions the first time. Our goal is to connect older adults and their advocates with the resources they need, from staying put to estate and financial planning, care management, and estate sales and clean out services, to selling the home for as much as possible, no matter its condition, anywhere in the U.S. And selling that home for as much as possible is critical, especially if we're talking about moving to senior living communities, because the money that a good real estate agent can get you for your house can be used for your care and your legacy and help you stay put even longer in that new home that you're going to. To learn more, please visit us at theseniorlearninginstitute.com. Until next time, I'm Ted Gottlieb, certified senior advisor, seniors real estate specialist, and founder of the Senior Learning Institute.